So today we're gonna have a little late night video because I'm getting fucking tired of this shit. It's so fucking annoying and I hate it so much. So here's the fucking scenario. Okay, you log on to your favorite IRC, your favorite Discord. You're talking to the distro maintainers. You're talking to the project leads. You're like, hey, I want to try something. I want to try something new. Should I try this? And you explain your use case. Like for example, this is the most recent situation I have. Is I was thinking of trying out suckless software, right? Because why not? Never used it before. Kind of wanted to try it. Could be fun, right? So I go on to I'm thinking I'm either going to use Void or I'm going to use Alpine. And I was like, oh, if I'm going Void, I could probably even go Muscle, and I could try out Muscle libc for this because add a bit more challenge or whatever. So you log on to the Void IRC or the Void Matrix Discord, whatever the fuck they got, and you say, "Hey, I want to try suckless software, and I want to try it on muscle. How do I get started with that?" And the first thing, if you've ever done this before in any community, you will first be told, "Never use that software." No matter what it is, like whatever the fuck your idea is, they'll just tell you not to use it. So I was like, okay, well, I've explained my use case to you. I get asked 100 fucking questions about why I need, like, it's like you ask, okay, well, what should I use for my I2P browser? And it's like, why the fuck do you need an I2P browser? It's like, well, in the same way I use a Tor browser to browse onion sites, I would like an I2P browser to browse I2P. One that I have configured with Foxy Proxy or whatever. So, what's going to end up happening though, anytime you do this, is you're going to get told, give up, never try anything new, just use the same old software everybody already uses. Don't ever expand your mind, don't ever learn anything new, don't bother. And I really kind of despise that attitude in, tech communities because I get a lot of questions like that. People will say, "Oh, I'm setting up an audio system at home. I need a new stereo. How do I get started with that?" And if I'm telling somebody to give up, I will give them an explicit reason and an alternative of what they should be doing. So, like for example, I got a question today, should I get a surround sound system or should I get like stereo powered monitors? So I said it really depends on your room, right? Because she was getting into like center speakers and all this other shit, and I'm like, look, unless your room is like really, really wide, you probably don't need a center speaker because your stereo imaging should compensate for that. The center speaker is more if you can distinguish between your left and your right speaker when you have a sound that is supposed to sound like it's coming from the center of the room. Like when I have my speakers up, I can't tell if a sound is coming from left or right unless the channel that the sound is coming from is left or right. For example, like if I were to talk from the left side and I said "Woo," and I went to the right side, I should be able to hear that sound move across my ears. Now, if you need a center speaker, it's because you hear it on the left and then you hear it on the right, basically. You know? It doesn't have that steady, like linear kind of pattern. So, anyways, while you are talking to people, that was kind of a tangent, but when you're talking to people, remember that they've already come into the conversation with an idea that they had, and so to tell them to just give up on their idea is usually not the solution. Because I had this problem with accessibility. I had come up with all these different accessibility needs, and the first thing that happened was I got asked 100 questions and then told, "Oh, I don't need any of those features," and it really pissed me off because these people aren't paralyzed. They don't give a fuck about about accessibility needs. So I realized that I have my own needs, I have my own devices, and I want something that works for my devices. So if I'm experimenting with something, it's because I'm trying to learn something new. And a lot of people have this, that's how you learn things, is you're supposed to be able to go into these tech communities and you're supposed to be able to ask questions. And ideally, you're supposed to get an answer. And if they can't give you an answer, they'll have to tell you to go somewhere else. Instead, what we get, and I notice this a lot from the lead Chimera Linux developer, is I don't know what the fuck their gender is these days. I think they identify as a girl, so I'm just gonna say girl just in case they're fucking stalking my social media or whatever the fuck they do these days. Uh, and what she had said was, I said, "Hey, I've got an old AMD A8 laptop, and I'm thinking of trying Chimera on it. Do you like?" But I'm kind of running out of hardware that can run this distribution, and so she smugly said back to me, "Oh, Chimera works on a ton of hardware. Maybe it's just an issue on your end." And I've had this problem before, like if there's a bug, I have found it and I have exploited it, basically. Like I have broken so many things over the years, and so to tell me that something should just work is you're jinxing it basically because I will find a way to break it relatively quickly too. It'll just be completely by accident. But what had happened was I booted up Chimera, and the first thing I noticed was the fucking live environment doesn't work. It can't even launch a Wayland session, and it couldn't launch an X session from STDM. So I was like, okay, I'm guessing that this computer's not gonna work for this. That's kind of where we're at. So I went with Void because I've used Void. I like Void. I like the maintainers well enough. They are currently the subject of this fucking video though, because this is a broader problem than just Void people. This is a fucking Discord problem. This is an IRC problem. This is a Linux problem. This is an open source community problem. You can't you can't argue against somebody's use case by saying just don't have a use case. That's not how this works. Okay, you gotta allow people to figure out because I've done this before. Somebody came in and said, "Oh, I want to use whatever the fuck it is, not Qtile, it's what the fuck was that? Quick Shell." And they were a brand new Linux user. I said, like, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know what the fuck Quick Shell is. I've been using Linux for fucking 10 years. I would recommend as a new user that you start with something that people actually know about instead of this really experimental shit that nobody knows. You're probably gonna have a better time of it if you know, because I do have to tell people to just give up sometimes. But when I'm coming at it, I do have some level of expertise. I would still consider myself a novice in technology, basically. But if I come to you with a question, I've usually made up my mind on what I'm trying to do. And to try and dissuade me from what I'm trying to do is probably not going to net you any favor, basically. Like, one, you're not going to answer the question, so I'm fucking wasting my time talking to you. But two, I would need directions. Like I would need a recommendation for an alternative if we're going to go that route. So that's what I asked was I said, okay, if Suckless sucks, I mean everybody knows that Suckless is trash. I still wanted to use it because I found a use for its for those programs. So what I need you to do is provide me an alternative to Suckless software that does the same thing, not necessarily the exact same thing, but serves the same purpose. And then we can have a conversation where you can help me use that software. But the answer that I got instead was just use whatever works. And so I'm like, yeah, I use XFCE, I use glibc because it works. That's not what I'm asking. If I just wanted what works, I would be using a production system, not a fucking project system. Because this project system is my hobby. This is where I get to experiment and learn new things. So I was going to go through like all these C tutorials. I was going to learn the syntax. I was going to patch my own DWM. It was going to be super cool. Because contrary to what Luke Smith said, you do need to know some amount of C or some amount of programming in general in order to use DWM properly. Like, I had so much trouble setting that up. It was such a pain. But this is kind of your reminder that people will come into your space and they will ask you questions that may make you uncomfortable. Obviously, Void Linux has maintainers that subscribe to a certain political ideology. It'd be like if I went into an anti-X IRC and asked about Suckless, they probably just kick me the fuck out. Like, I understand why people don't like it. I've got fucking Omar G running on a laptop right now. I'm sure I'm a fucking neo-Nazi or whatever the fuck people want to call me these days. Uh, and it starts to wear at you, when you have very smug people who think they know everything, but as soon as you throw them a curveball, then suddenly they have to start dodging, have to avoid the question and instead answer something just completely fucking different. And what I found is people tend to want to drag you down to their level, basically. I mean, that's just human nature. Misery loves company, right? But in this case, it's like if you want to learn something, people that have expertise will generally just tell you to give up. And I don't think that's a good learning experience for people. I do think that if you are going to go that route and tell somebody to give up, you do need to give them a proper alternative that fulfills their same use case. Because I mean, obviously, the shit I do on my computer is fucking obscure. Like that's why I get into arguments with people all the time about whether or not Debian stable is something I can recommend to a new user. Because I've tried out my own use case, and honestly, I think that mine isn't so obscure that it's not going to apply to most people. So I say personally that Debian wouldn't be useful for me, basically. And I can't recommend it to other people because I'm afraid they're going to run into issues. And so people will say, "Well, Debian works fine on my machine. Why would you not recommend it?" And I said, "Look, I've tried it. I've found problems with it, and it just doesn't I don't think it fits the use case of the people I'm talking to, you know. Linux Mint would serve better, would be better served to them or whatever." So, anyways, that's kind of my rant for the day because I go through this like, and I think a lot of people go through this, and you can generally, like, you can boil this down to gatekeeping in Linux, where there's a lot of software. Like, I remember fucking asking Imalo, I was like, "Hey, do you think Mate would work with Ex Libra?" And he said, "Fuck Ex Libra. I hate the developer. I hate everything about it. Fuck you." He didn't say it like that, but he gave me the very polite way of saying, "Just give up. Don't do it." So it gets annoying, going through this day in and day out where you want to learn something new and everybody just tells you to give up, you know? Uh, I think we do need to maybe like find a way to. You probably can't call these people out for it because they hold positions of power, so they'll just ban you from their space. But start finding people in your circles that do share your philosophy and do want to teach you things because they'll give you a lot better help than people that will just dismiss everything you say as your use case is invalid. So don't listen to those kind of people. Just, stick through it, find the community that's right for you. That's why I'm on XMPP because the people there generally share values with me. Even if we disagree on things, they will try and help me better myself, basically. So you wanna stick around with people that are there to are there to teach you, really, because this all is really a journey, and I've been hamstrung so many times by elitists uh, that think there's a ton of software out there that's just not useful. And I'm like, well, a lot of people use this software, so it can't be totally useless. It's just people. It really is just people telling you not to learn new things. Like, that's really all it boils down to. I did want to throw this in there though, as a little bonus, because I wanted to make a video out of this, but it's like a 5-second video, so I didn't feel like it. So I'm using Artix S6, right? And if I'm using Void, I'm using Runit. What I've noticed is a lot of people, and this isn't even a discussion with me, obviously they'll bring it up anytime I bring it up, but I read a lot of init discussions online, and the first thing I see people say is systemd just works. Why would you choose something other than systemd? And the logic behind that, if you infer from that statement, is that systemd works, your init does not work, so why are you using it? Now, this is obviously a falsehood because if OpenRC had won the init wars and everybody was using OpenRC like Chrome did for a while on their Chromebooks, you would be saying OpenRC just works. Why do you prefer systemd? Because systemd works, obviously. Runit works. OpenRC works. You know, you can use any of these, and this actually does rope back into the discussion is just use system D. It works. Don't bother trying anything else. You get the same answer from these elitists. You know, they become system D elitists. Ironically, like you would think that the alternate people would be the elitists, but no, you actually see the most of it from system D users because they've never used anything else. So what they're really saying is when they say system D is just works, why don't you use it? Because everything else works, what they're really saying is system D is popular. Why are you not using the popular choice? Because that's the same answer I got about suckless, you know, was why not just use XFCE? Why not just use KDE? Why not just use GNOME? Because I don't want to fucking use GNOME. I don't want to use KDE on the system. I don't want to use XFCE. I want to use what the fuck I want to use because Linux is about fucking choice. Holy shit, what a fucking concept. You know what I'm saying? So, or you get this answer, you know, that system D just works. Why don't you use system D? I could say S6 just works. Why don't you use S6? Same fucking shit. But it really comes down to system D is popular. Why aren't you using the popular option? They should really say what they actually mean when they say that because it is kind of a non sequitur. You know what I mean? Like everything works. You don't have to like system D works, but guess what? Everything works. Like if you want to, you can give your mom, right? You can give her a laptop and on one laptop she's running I don't know, Gentoo with OpenRC. The other one she's running Gentoo with system D. If all your mom does is fucking check her email and she's not writing her own services because who the fuck's writing their own services, honestly? Yeah, I know there's a lot of niche use cases where you do have to write your own services and like manage your own services, but guess what? Everything can manage services. Like this isn't a fucking issue. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, you've used System D, so you think it just works and you think it's perfect, but it's fine. Everything is perfect. You know, OpenRC works fine, DNet works fine, fucking run it works fine, S6 works fine, sysv init. I don't know about sysv init. Sorry, Slackware people, but fuck your fucking init, man. Jesus Christ, that's just like so fucking primitive, man. It's so garbage. Like that was a reason why they had to I think it was it sysv turned into run it? I can't remember, but basically sysv and it was abandoned a long time ago and for good reason. Like that shit was super primitive. It barely, you know, did anything that a modern init should be doing. So, anyways, yeah, that's my little rant for today is just remember that if you deny people's use cases, you are becoming a elitist gatekeeper, you know, and you do need to remember that if you're arguing against a use case, you need to either provide a reason, because people will give you a reason for their use case. You know, you may not agree with it, but they've come up with that reason in their head as to why they need something. And to deny them that, I think honestly drives people away because there is a plethora of software out there that is really cool, you know, and you'll never get to experience it because the second you want to try it, somebody will you'll ask the wrong kind of community and they'll just tell you to give up from the get-go. So you want to make sure that you're in the right community, you're talking to the right people, people that encourage you, people that teach you, you know, don't and this is really a problem with like you know a lot of different Linux distros is you come in thinking you're going to get the help you need and then you're told basically to fuck off, you know, because whatever reason, like I'm sure fucking Void doesn't agree with Suckless's politics or whatever the fuck those are. You know, like I haven't fucking asked him what their politics are, but I've seen the posts people do, you know, where they talk about suckless or they say the software just sucks and you should use something else. It's like, cool, what's the alternative? You know, what should I be using instead? Is there something just as cool that I could be looking at? Is there something better I could look at? No, it's just fucking XFCE. Like, cool, that doesn't even serve the same fucking purpose, man. What the fuck? Like, yeah, I could use i3. Yeah, that's fucking cool. Yeah, i3 works. Yeah, I love i3. You know, but I want to use DWM today. You know, I don't want to use i3. I want to learn something new. You know, so You get those kind of people, and I'm sure they've tried suckless software and said, "Oh, this sucks," don't try it, because maybe they think they're trying to save you time or something. But a lot of times you have to let somebody go through something in order to experience it for themselves. Because then, what have I learned other than I'm parroting your experience, and then I can be told I'm wrong? Because then I'll tell a DWM person, "Oh, suckless software sucks," and he'll say, "Have you ever used it?" No, never used it, never fucking tried it. Like, so you gotta actually let people. It's free software, man. Just let people fucking use software. Jesus fucking Christ. You know what I mean? Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.